Are you there?
Yeah. Hey, start all over. Don't hit record again, or start all over right now, like so you can edit that part out.
Okay, you ready to go? Cool. So Heath Porter, Heathen Wine Tours. I am here with Chad Melville, proprietor, award-winning, totally, I'm not going to say what I want to say, dude at Melville Wine.
Keep going, dude.
Chad
You
and I
sound good for once.
years. We're going to try not to turn this into a frat party, but I can't promise that there won't be any snide off-color comments. Chad, where are you? What's going on at the winery? You're in Santa Rita Hills, California. Talk to me about what's going on behind you.
I'm in the middle of the vineyard right now. I'm actually in this Pinot Noir block. We just mowed the cover crop here, and now we're going through and doing a little handwork. If you can see a couple guys at the kind of towards the end of the rows here, they've gone through and hand hoed in between the vines. That's why you see a nice clean berm. And actually what you see in the row next door that hasn't been hand hoed yet, some weeds sticking out. So the cover crop is something that we plant at the end of every season. So around November, receives the winter rains. It grows, it flourishes really in wintertime. And now's the time in which we just cut it and lay it on top of the surface. But it's really the root structure. It's all legume based. So the root structure that's been growing for the last 5 or 6 months is pretty massive, and it's nitrogen affixing. And so you're really kind of building up organic matter in the soil with the roots, because now they're going to start decomposing or composting, and that feeds all the microbiology in the soil. In which case that creates a healthy soil, and then you get the vines. The feeder roots of the vines then have really good, healthy, organic food. Here's an example of a spring pea that was just cut. So this is one of the 5 of the plants that are in our cover crop.
What are the other 4?
There's a bell bean, there's a vetch, a clover, and a ryegrass. So you can see the ryegrass right there. The rest of it you can't really see. I just happened to find this guy kind of straggler on the side. But man, spring peas smell good. And not only that, but those pea tendrils right there.
Yep.
We can eat those, and those things are money. As a matter of fact, I'm eating it right now.
There you go. About to say, that just went in your pocket for later, huh?
Yeah.
So
tastes just like a pea.
That's awesome. So can you actually go over to the buds and show us the bud break? Because I think that's the coolest thing that's going on right now.
Yeah. So here is an example of bud break. You got a vine. The buds have kind of come out. Like this would be kind of more considered bud swell, where you have something that's not quite open yet. And then here's an example of beginning of bud swell. Then you got bud swell, and then you got something that's kind of popped open, and then now you have something that is got some growth to it. And if you look inside here, you can actually see a little bit of the fruit cluster that's just kind of popping out as well. And each one of those buds will grow its own cane, and each cane essentially is going to produce 2 clusters. And for Pinot Noir, that means about a 1/6 of a pound or a 1/7 of a pound. So they're really light clusters.
That's awesome.
Is that in focus? It's hard for me to tell.
Yeah, no, you're in perfect focus. That's really cool that we get to check that out. Thank you. That sort of drives me to the next conversation, which is, you started off with dealing with basically the viticulture. We all know, and all the great winemakers and wineries in the world say that 95% of the wine is made in the vineyard. You now also take care of everything on the winemaking side. How has that enhanced your wines and your winemaking, you think, over the years?
I think that's where all the magic is. I mean, growing wine is single-handedly the most important thing. I think if you ask every winemaker, what a perfect situation is, they would say that the opportunity to work their own land. Um, so growing the wine is it's the most challenging, it's the most rewarding, it's the most time consuming, it's the most complex, complicated part of this whole process. I wouldn't change it for anything. It's really quite fun. The making side of it for me is certainly fun and exhilarating. And I've been doing it for 23 years, and each harvest is still as exciting as the first. But the actual winemaking decisions and like what you do as a winemaker in terms of controlling the wine is not something that I find is as important. Of course, the wine needs to be clean, it needs to be presentable, it needs to be high quality, all those things I want, but I'm not here to dictate to the wine what I want it to do. I allow it to do what it wants to do, and I'm just here as a support. And I would only feel that way if I, owned my own land and did my own farming. So it's really about capturing the magic of what's happening outside rather than creating magic inside, if that makes sense. Does that make
Yeah.
sense to you? I mean, I know you don't really have the capacity to understand these things that well, but did I
Well,
explain it well enough for you to understand?
if you would have used your California sensibility with a couple of more totalies, dude, it would have probably made a little more sense to me, bro.
Oh, right. Yeah. Because
So
Alabama, that's how you guys speak, huh?
as long as we're not kissing our cousin, we're in a good position. All right, pal? So that led me to another question because you grow Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Syrah. If you could trade positions with another winemaker or have vineyards anywhere else in the world, where would that take you for a year? What would be an ideal situation?
Ooh. I don't know. I'm fascinated with the wines of Cornas, specifically Clap.
Sure.
Um, I love Chambolle Musigny and Burgundy, Roumier, even though I don't get to drink it that often. But
Who
man, those
does?
wines are mind blowing good. I think there's parts in Chablis, there's parts of Meursault, there's parts of the Moselle and Piedmont. I mean, there's rad parts all over the world, really. But those parts I find really, really intriguing. But to be honest, I also feel like where I'm sitting is a really special place too. And I'm not just saying that. I mean, the Santa Rita Hills is a really unique and magical place to be growing wine. It's set up with circumstances that don't exist anywhere else, and it doesn't make it better or worse. It just makes it different and unique. And so I feel really lucky to have found this region. There's a lot of really, really cool stuff going on here.
Yeah, I agree. From somebody who gets to come visit you probably once or twice a year, I'm always amazed about everything happening there. About you're wearing a coat right now. It's cold. There's wind going on, and all those things that still your perfect ripeness and the grapes just really are in a fantastic position there. I totally agree with you. So let's talk about something that's a little more involved in your life. You love music. Um, how many Grateful Dead shows have you been in your life? And would you say you're one of their kids?
The Grateful Dead, to me are not only like they're my favorite band ever of all time. They hold the number one spot on my list. They also happen to hold the number two spot as well, out of respect, right?
Oh, wow.
But as far as shows, I've been to like 12 or 15 Grateful Dead shows. I saw all of those shows in the late 80s, early 90s. But I've also seen a lot of the iterations that have happened since Jerry Garcia died. But the most recent one of Dead and Company is really, really good. And I've seen them probably 12 or 15 times as well.
I think we need to set up a Dead and Company Heathen Wine Tours weekend at Santa Barbara Bowl.
Yeah.
That was bad. So another question about music. So David Lee Roth or Sammy Hagar?
David Lee Roth for sure.
Okay.
And that's not to say that I like David Lee Roth, because I don't really, but I just can't stand Sammy Hagar. And I went to high school with his son. Like, he's a bud, and there's just something about Sammy that I don't like.
That's
And
bad.
he's connected to the Grateful Dead too. So I try, but I just can't do it.
All right, other music question, and then we'll move on. J Lo or Shakira?
J-Lo for sure.
Yeah, purely
Yeah.
because of the halftime show at the Super Bowl, or is it something before that?
I didn't even see the the halftime at the Super Bowl. I was in actually Stockholm, and it was like 2:30 in the morning when the Super Bowl came on, and so I tried really hard. I could only make it through the first half of the first quarter before I fell asleep. So no, J Lo goes back to the days of like the beginning when she was on that show with the Wayans brothers. What was that show? In Living Color.
Living Color. Wow, you are dating yourself. Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
I know that you like to cook a lot. We all know that wine, great food. You're some of those August Pop wines. What are you cooking to go?
Um, I would say a prime ribeye. I get here locally. I give it a little bit of a smoke in the smoker, like a half hour, and then I sear it off on the iron skillet inside, and it's so good. Just a little bit of salt and pepper, maybe a tiny little drizzle of olive oil at the end. But it's really about the steak. It's about the quality of the meat. I mean, it's not about really the operator or the chef. It wouldn't be nearly as good if it didn't start with that high quality ingredient.
Yeah, it's basically like you and the grapes. Just get the hell out of the way and don't screw it up, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, another food question for you because obviously I'm a fat guy. I
What?
like to eat.
Yeah, why all the food questions, boy? Are you hungry?
I'm
You
hungry.
looks
I'm
like it looks like you might be able to go a couple days without any food.
locked down on social disaster, pal. I need to talk about food, right? Shut up. Girl Scout cookies. Which ones blend best with your wine? And dude, since you're in California, can you make a Girl Scout cookie edible?
Oh, like a THC Girl Scout? I mean CBD Girl Scout cookie?
There you go.
I don't know. I don't know about going with the wine part. I don't even know what they're called, but like the coconut chocolate drizzle ones that are like melt in your mouth, like that with
Samosa.
what is it?
Samosa.
There you go. Um, the that with the estate Syrah might be a good call.
Boom. Actually, I was thinking about maybe the Thin Mints getting that herbaceousness coming out with some of the Syrah.
Yeah, I know that was my first instinct too, but then there's just something about like the mintiness, like that kind of cooling effect on the mouth that I don't think would go well with like the tannin.
Okay, we'll move
And
on.
you're the sommelier. I mean, what do I know?
I've never even been to Somalia. Shut up. So talk to me about, you're a huge Lakers fan. Who's the greatest Laker of all time?
Wow, greatest Laker of all time. I gonna go with Kobe Bryant. That's my boy. I mean, that's no disrespect to Jerry West and Elgin Baylor or Magic Johnson or Kareem.
Yep.
But I mean, even Byron Scott, James Worthy. I mean, I didn't even put Rambus. I used to have a dog when I first started this. My brother and I planted the vineyard in '97. I got a Weimaraner. I was like, whatever, 24, 25 years old. And I lived out here on the property with my brother in a trailer for 3 years. I got a dog, right? And I named it Rambus.
Nice.
After the Kurt Rambis. But that's not to say that Rambis is the best Laker of all time, because I think we would all agree that that's not the case. But Kobe Bryant, he's my boy.
Yeah, but growing up a huge Celtics fan, Rambis was probably the only guy I liked. But of course, we saw it happen to Kellen Rambis. So we'll move on.
We could talk about this more if you want to. Maybe that could be another segment, because that would be a really good conversation.
Yeah, it wouldn't be for anybody under 18. I'll say that. So something unusual about you. What is the fact that nobody would expect to know about Chad Melville other than wine and food and topical smartass?
Let's see. I was actually at one point in my life was a safari guide in Zimbabwe.
Shut up. You were not. Dude, you were really running away from home.
Yeah, that was in '94. It was a while ago.
College?
I had just graduated. Yeah.
That's crazy. I didn't know that one. All right, that's a good one. Really good one. Last couple of questions.
Are you going to ask me a good question? I mean, you know, we're always encouraged to ask questions, right? There's no such thing as a bad question, but you haven't asked me a fucking good question this whole entire time.
I'm the king of shitty questions, pal. I wrote the book on it, all right? If you could read, you'd understand. So with the whole coronavirus, everything that's going on in this horrible time, what's going on around the winery? How's that affecting you personally and as a winery and a business?
Well, as you can see, we're active in the vineyard. I got my boys heading this direction now. You can see them hand hoeing. The tasting rooms are closed. You know, that affects the business in a big way. The restaurants being closed affects the whole side of the business in a huge way. So, you know, what we're doing is we're just kind of reevaluating things. We're trying new ideas. We're rethinking the business. And I think that there's something really valuable and cool about that process of, you know, digging in and trying to figure out. You're challenged right now with this situation to kind of, how are we going to survive? And that's kind of the, you know, it's the risky part, the fun part, the exhilarating part of running a business is being able to navigate, being able to pivot, being able to try new things and figure it out. We'll survive, you know. It's just really hard right now, and not only that, but you know, letting go of taste room employees isn't fun, and you know, everybody hunkering down. I mean, the mood of the United States right now is one that's, you know, borderline, you know, depressing, and so. You know, what we're trying to do here is keep people positive, keep people, you know, happy, and you know, that's a really important role that wine plays, right? I mean, not only is it, you know, enhancing when you're eating, but it's also, you know, puts a smile on your face, makes you happy, takes your mind off of a lot of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree, which is why we wanted to do this, to show people that there is light at the end of the tunnel, that there is going to be wine, there is going to be food. We will come visit you time. Last two questions, as I can see somebody's working around there for once, is number one, tacos or burritos?
Tacos, for sure, but they gotta be homemade tortillas. I mean, that's really where the magic is, I think.
I agree. And last thing for you is, since it is such a bad time for the wineries, people are getting laid off. Tell us about the wine club. How can people get your juice if they're social distancing?
Yeah, well, we got our website, melvillewinery.com, is the main source because we got everything there. You can order wine. We ship all over. We also offer right now an incentive, you know, $1 shipping on 3 bottles or more. We're also, you know, I encourage people to sign up on the mailing list so that you get the emails that we send out. And lately, the last 10 days, we've done 3 releases of library wine. So wine that we've been aging and storing here perfectly at the winery. Opportunity for people to get their hands on some of those bottles. There's no commitment to being on the mailing list. It's just a way to be informed. There's also the social media. You know, there's the Facebook page, Melville Winery. The Instagram is Melville_winery. And those are also just ways to kind of stay informed and be in touch of what's going on out here.
Cool.
But all the support is greatly appreciated. I mean, that's our only means of revenue right now is getting orders through our web, through our phone, and fulfilling those, because taste rooms being closed and essentially the wholesale markets, you know, basically being closed because of all the restaurants. But yeah, any support you could give us, any winery, you know, it's greatly appreciated. It's a crazy time right now. You know, I never would have thought Something like this would happen for one, and for two, would affect our business the way it has.
Yeah, sure. So I think what you're saying is or to put people back to work.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I couldn't really hear what you were saying because you kind of broke up a little bit, but yeah, whatever you say, dude.
I said in a synopsis, drink more to put people back.
Yes. Keep drinking. Drink more. Drink
Exactly.
California.
All right, dude. I know you got to go pick up your kids. I appreciate the time. Thanks, dude.
All right. See ya.
See ya. Bye.